Minister for Press and Public Affairs to update you, the Liberian people, through the media. Will come to bed. Once he's not in the country or once he's not in the press briefing, and I have that authority to brief the Liberian people or to update you if I deem it so necessary to speak on what I need to speak on. But today, press briefing, it is like last week, we are brought here again, we are brought to the Liberian people, three key government officials to speak to the Liberian people. You know, we are arriving at a stage 23, to be precise, October 10. And people want to know from us what we have done as a government. And though we have been saying this in the past, and we will continue to say in the past, no matter the situation, no matter what, I don't care about the critics, I don't care about what people will say about us, I don't care about what people will say about the government, but we need to tell the Liberian people what this government has done and will continue to do. So we have in our presence three key government officials. Okay? And today, my boss is here to update the Liberian people. He will provide some updates regarding some activities or issues coming from the government. And Minister Brennan, Legislative Julius Brennan, will update the Liberian people. He will speak to some issues coming from the government angle. And thereafter, then we'll invite the Minister of State without portfolio and the head of the President's deliberate unit, the head of the President's deliberate unit, Honorable Choko P. He will provide updates on some of the President's priority projects under the Sports for Development Initiative. There are so many things regarding sports activities in this country ongoing. And he will speak to that issue. He will provide the Liberian people. And maybe somebody will listen to us in Kipamo, somebody will listen to us in Rawa Sports. We want to know what the president wants to do in Rawa Sports or in Vontiman or in Kipamo regarding sports and what have you. So you deal directly the issue of the Sports for Development Initiative. Professor D. Ansel-Soni, Minister of Information, Minister of Education. Minister of Education, you know the paper, he talks, if you give me 3 hours, you will stand on the stage and talk for that 3 hours. So I almost call him Minister of Information. So, Professor D. Ansel-Soni, Minister of Education, will inform the public about some of the deliverables in the educational sector. He will speak to the Liberian people. He covers, I remember, was it last year or the beginning of this year, he has to travel throughout this country visiting our system. So he will speak to the Liberian people when we have come as a government. And this platform, no matter the situation, though it is a national platform, but we also highlight key initiatives undertaken by you, the Liberian people. And so at this platform, we do not pick and choose. Except that you want to come here to denigrate us, then we put you aside. When I say us, I talk about the government. But if you want to come here, if you can be whosoever, if you want to come here and talk about development initiative, this platform is yours. So we also breaking on board a Liberian organization headed by your old friend, Mr. Alexander Wiabla, and all of you know him to be Usher. And they will come and talk about. So if you have an organization that is partnership with this government and the Liberian people at large. Just let us know, and we'll tell you, we'll give you the platform, you explain to the Liberian people what you want to achieve. So we have that approbation to invite him here to speak to the Liberian people about the undertaking, about his organization. This is how very open we are. We are not selfish. The government is not selfish. Except that you want to sit on our shoulder, you want to spit on our hair, then we will have to put you down from our back and put you somewhere else. So without much ado, I'd like to invite to the stage the official spokesperson of this government, the distinguished colleague of yours, Honorable Legendary Julius Rene, who will speak on some issues emanating from the government. Mr. Rene.
That was the voice of the deputy speaker of English Commission.
Good morning, dear colleagues of the media. It's been a week, right, since we were here, and so I'd like to give thanks to all of you again for taking time off your respective busy schedules from your various media outlets to be here with us this morning at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. We are in the range now, and so I know sometimes it's challenging to make it from your respective destinations to come here, but we're happy that you're in your numbers this morning, bringing the not so friendly weather to be with us here at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Mine this morning is not so much of to keep you but to say to you that as a government, we're continuing with our developmental strides and programs. We know that we're nearing the holding of free, fair, and presidential and general elections in October. We're 4 months down the road, and so most of the activities are geared towards electioneering. But notwithstanding, the government continues to go on with this development agenda, trying to finish up on some of the projects that were started a year or so, a few months back. As you all know, during the course of the week, yesterday, His Excellency the President George Weah, in fulfillment of one of his pledges of development to the people of Liberia, dedicated buildings of the armed forces of Liberia that were either refurbished or renovated or newly constructed. The symbolism of that took place at the RIA barracks, there in Loma Gidi, at our international airport. But it will interest you to note that the facilities of the Armed Forces of Liberia are being renovated across the country at various barracks, at various facilities of the Army. And those areas include Jogofa, Bassa, Banga, the Coast Guard base in Monrovia, EBK in Shefflin, Margibi, and Camp Ware. These areas are currently being renovated to ensure that our gallant men and women who are in arms are situated in facilities that are conducive, that will allow them to live well, to be able to continue the sacrificial duty in providing security to the people of Liberia, to all of us. The President, in fulfillment of his constitutional mandate as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, committed himself to ensuring that the Army continues to receive from the government of Liberia its fair share of what is required of a modern army in this day and age. And so as a result of that, the government is renovating these facilities to allow for more space, better conducive working environment for the armed forces, the men and women of our army. These facilities, when completed, some of them are still under construction, others have been completed, will not just serve as living quarters, but will seek to improve the living standards of the men and women in arms. This is a further demonstration of the President's unwavering commitment to providing the armed forces the needed infrastructure and boarding facilities to be able to carry out its constitutional duties. The President, in dedicating that those
best of us and do our best with our district.
Forgive us, that's what we call the trouble with technology sometimes. Yeah. It is not always 100%, but thanks to our technical people back here, they've been able to arrest the situation. Can you please lower the volume so we don't have feedback on from the microphones? So yes, so the President, in dedicating the building yesterday, expresses gratitude as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, and on behalf of the people of Liberia as President, to the men and women of the Army, for continuing to be a force for good, for demonstrating professionalism in the execution of their mandate as the army of our country. We're proud of our men and women in arms, and the government of Liberia will continue to provide them the necessary support in spite of what we call priority on resources and very limited we have financially. So I'd like to thank His Excellency the President, as well as the men and women of the Army and the authorities of the Army, the Chief of Staff and his commanding force, and also the Defense Minister and the administration of the Ministry of National Defense. That said, tomorrow is June 16, and tomorrow signifies in Africa the Day of the African Child. Legislated in 1999 by the then Organization of African Unity, today known as the AU, the Day of the African Child commemorates the struggle that African children have undergone in light of their determination for a better future, when hundreds of them in Soweto, South Africa, stood up against the then apartheid regime and were massacred. The leaders of our continent at the time in 1999 thought it was important to recognize the role of children in the struggle for African emancipation, as well as looking for a better future for themselves as children and for the continent as a whole. And so tomorrow is the celebration of the Day of the African Child. In Liberia, President George Weah has issued a proclamation asking the appropriate ministries and agencies of government to plan programs befitting of the celebration of that day. The Ministry of Gender and social protection already planned in collaboration with its international partners the celebration of the day at the Executive Pavilion in Monrovia tomorrow. And so all of you members of the press and the public are invited to join in the celebration of the Day of the African Child. African children must be celebrated, they must be recognized, because they too are major stake in not just the development of the continent, but the decision-making process and the future of our continent, Africa. So, as we celebrate tomorrow, let's keep in mind that each and every African child deserves a pattern of life and a better future. For us parents, just get up in the morning, hug your child, and say, Happy African Liberation Day. I call it Liberation Day for the children because it is this day that Africa has put aside to recognize how important too they are. Not just in the overall structure of a particular state, but in the family chain. We who are parents know how significant and how precious our children are to us. When we get home from work, they come running to us, giving us a hug and smiling, not knowing sometimes what sort of pressure you come under, but when you see that child, you feel relief. And so we must celebrate our children tomorrow. Finally, on this piece of political note, I want to say that as we move towards the general and presidential elections, the debate is continuing to narrow. Why do I say so? I say so because it's becoming clearer and clearer who the people of Liberia want. This week, 56 of the people's representatives at the legislature, taking instructions from their people, said to Liberia and the rest of the world that we have placed in you, our representatives, the authority to tell the rest of the world and the people of Liberia that we will re-elect His Excellency Dr. George Weah as President of the Republic in October, on the day of October 10. And so in their resounding numbers, 56 representatives, if you do the mathematics and you look at each district and see, and you want to put a number on how many persons each representative who pledged to support represent, and you look at the ethno-demographics of our country, there should be no doubt in your mind that October 10 is fait accompli. That's why the French people say, right? Fait accompli. It's almost a done deal. Because the president has delivered, more than over-delivered, in spite of the challenges inherited when he assumed the mantle of authority of the state. Inflation in double digits, students at the university demonstrating for attention, for better registration process at the university, better facilities at the university, 2,000 health workers not on the national payroll, funding for them had run out. We had students from secondary schools clamoring, looking for places, looking for solutions to how to get their required fees for WIAC. We had the economy struggling. 100 million plus pumped in by the presence of the United Nations peacekeeping operations in Liberia had departed the country as a result of the drawdown of UNMIL and the departure of UNMIL. And we can go on. And what happened? Never despair. President said, I was elected by my people. I will do what I can to change the situation. And here we are, 5 years down the road. The story is a complete 360 degrees turnaround. A story of success. Whether it's in the area of health, we've trained more doctors than any administration in its first term. 19 doctors have traveled for various specializations. We've increased the salaries of doctors from $700 to almost $2,000 US. Our students who once were considered as not being able to represent the quality of education Liberians are known for are today shining examples. They're passing in their numbers in WAEC as a result of the government taking on the sole responsibility to pay out their WAEC fees for public schools from 9th and 12th graders. I'm told 49,000 plus of them sat this year's WAEC exams. They didn't have to think about paying their fees. $4+ million US was paid to WAEC. Our students are not just passing, but they're passing at a high level. And the Minister of Education is able to talk more about that. I know he will talk also about the model schools that we're building across the country, the investment in TVET and all of that. And so the story is unending. Needless to talk about the road developments, community roads, our capital, our roads linking the capital, our international roads linking us to other parts of the world in the sub-region, Ivory Coast to Guinea, the Lofa Road, the Sakabie Bound Road all the way to the border, Sanquili Road. All of these various roads are international highway, the road to Rabat International Airport, taking shape, the ELW, a red light road, almost nearing completion. The people in Johnsonville, what are they enjoying to date? And we can go on and on and on. How then can someone say, you cannot change a winning team? No coach in the world, no spectator will tell you right now that Man City teams will be changed. It's the same way. You cannot change. I call this team we are 14. You cannot change the team. Because the team is winning. Spectators are clapping. And that's why in their numbers, they send their representatives to say, in 10 minutes of President, you will be re-elected come October 10, 2023. So it's a testimony, the 56 people representing the various ethno-demographics of our country and the districts and every birth of our people. It's a testimony of the quality of leadership and good work that His Excellency has brought to the presidency since assuming authority in 2018. He will continue on that path. That said, let me now take the opportunity to call here the Minister of State of our portfolio, who is also the head of the Presidential Projects Unit, the Honorable Chukwuemeka, to give you more further good news. And about all of the developments you're undertaking as a government as you give through those elections.
Now is the best on the Minister of Information, Jeremy Rennie.
It's almost impossible to speak with I know if I should stay.
Alright, so welcome to this live. My name is Prince Moba. This is Focus on That.
Thank you
Here
very
at
much.
the church conference room here at
And
the
thanks for the invite.
Information Culture Affairs Address
Blessed and honored
on its
to be
press
here today.
enemies through complete.
And from the President's office, I am the Minister of State of Portfolio, and I am the head of the President Delivery. For some of you, we have been in contact. I have been asked a million times. For some of you, we may not have interacted, but again, I'll give you some brief history as to some of my journey with the President. And today, Folk Day, I say thank you for covering this, because when we embarked upon this journey, for me, we started all the way from the first branch of government, where I got to know Mr. Tompo. I served as the administrative assistant in the then Senator of Mosovado County, His Excellency George Weah office, where I ran the day-to-day activity of the office. And then later, I took on some stewardship in the office where I had to run a lot of things in that office. Not just that, I was also opportune to have worked with His Excellency at ECOWAS when he was the head of the Liberian delegation at ECOWAS. And so at ECOWAS, I served as his personal assistant and secretary. So it was only fair that when we went through the electionary period, and I just continued with him in his office. So as I always say, I'm a technician, and so I concentrate in most of my functions are mainly technical. And I'm also blessed to have the opportunity to work with somebody selfless, somebody that I consider to be a big brother, and somebody that we have a lot of chemistry together when it comes to implementing projects, because most of what I do starts with him and it ends with him. And so I have a background in engineering, to be specific, chemical engineering, and I also have a background in public policy. My master's is in public policy. But since we took the leadership of this country, I have worked as one of his assistants. I say one of his assistants because within his office, he's the boss, and we all that work in his office assist him to make sure his dream, aspiration become a reality. And so that's why I've been doing for the past 6 years. Now, I'm going to go a little bit specific. Since we got into the leadership, I would say since my boss, His Excellency George Weah, took over the stewardship of this country, I have also had the opportunity to have traveled with him to many places. And some of the projects we are doing, we draw inspiration from some countries, and at the same time, we formulate our own designs that we follow. But most of the projects that I will speak about today is under the flagship project of what I would consider Sports for Development. Sports for Development is an initiative that the President launched along with His Excellency Emmanuel Macron in February of 2019. And I was also blessed again on that day to have been sitting with him, and then when we came back, I have taken that he has given me that authority to spearhead his sports for development initiative through the PDU, which is the President Delivery Unit. Now, before questions starts coming in, before I even start to go in depth to different projects that we have embarked upon, some that have already been completed and some of them that we have, that is ongoing, and some that we're going to start soon. I want to, first of all, give some duty, some demarcations, some authority, or some different areas that I work along with other colleagues in government. One, a lot of people come and say, oh, Chokapui, we're doing a lot of things about sports. And there is youth and sports. And I tell people all the time, and I say, I work closely with the youth and sports minister, who happened to be a big brother of mine, Honorable Soka Wilson. But again, we have our national plan, which is the PAPD. Under the PAPD, all national development for sports is controlled by the Youth and Sports Ministry. And then we also have LACE that does community and county specific project, which Percy Decker also heads. Now, within the president's office, the president has his priority projects that he enabled me to undertake. And as the head of his delivery unit, I have been working closely with him on them. Now I'm going to go into those specific projects. As we speak, the PDU, which is the President Delivery Unit, is working on, have worked on, or continue to work on a lot of projects. And I start, number one is the Invisible Park. I think we all here are now benefiting from the Invisible Park. And number two, I would say the PHP Sports and Recreational Facility, which is well on its way. We just crossed 86 to 87% of completion, which I'm very happy. I will go in depth more. Besides the PHP, we have completed and inaugurated the West Point page, which some of you were there during the opening, and we had the opportunity to interact with the community. And after West Point, I have been working in Clarendon. Clarendon, I would say, is 99.3% completed. And I say 99.3% completed because we have completed all the field, we have completed even the groundwork of the children playground, but the actual materials that will go in the children playground has been delayed. And luckily, I got a message that all things being equal, this weekend I will have it. If I have it this weekend, I will be giving you a date very soon, and PHP, Clarendon will be history. But then, as soon as we were completing Clarendon, my boss called and said, after Clarendon, you have to go detour. So, in a couple of days, if not in the very near future, the groundbreaking ceremony will happen in Detroit. I'm trying to do that before the weekend. Finger crossed, we are trying to push. And so Detroit will be next. We have already started since we 99.3% completed. We have already started moving material to D12. So if you're in the Clariton area, you will see that we have already started demarcating, we have already started barricading the field. So it tells you active work is about to start. And then from D12, I've already gotten my next marching order, which will be Lockington. And people are saying, why just Monrovia? No. And people are saying, why are we not in Pinsville? Are we not in this other area yet? What we decided to do from the president's office, the first and foremost, we wanted to target those communities with less opportunity first. Then we will extend into the suburb and go into other communities. From there, we will be going into the counties. And now, to extend into the county, it depends on the role that I will be asked to do. Remember, we had county tour, and most of the development in the county falls on a list, and some of them will be done by Ministry of Youth and Sports. And then the Liberia Football Association has already started to do things in the county. So instead of overlapping function, we have now been talking to each other, especially those people with primary duties to go into the county. They have been warming up, some of them already in the county. So, but within the Greater Monrovia area and within Musselwhite County, I will be doing a lot of running around. But again, as I always tell people, I only move when the president tells me to, because as you know, I'm the Minister of State with Portfolio. So my job is given, and on a day-to-day basis, although I have statutory functions that I perform, but the president and I will work very closely in carrying on most of those tasks. And what I'll do, I will go to specific projects and then give you some of the detail, especially Mr. Toko. He has been very excited about PhD, so I will start with PhD. And then before I leave, before even going to PhD, there's something, because a lot of people ask me about Invisible Park, and then I try not to talk about Invisible Park again, because I try to move ahead. But Invisible Park is very special to what we are doing, because we are using Invisible Park as a pilot project. So mistakes that are being made, some of the things that we have put in place when it comes to the management aspect of how most of these things should be taken care of for a sustainability purpose. Invisible Park is one of the most important things. And I'm also happy that now I'll take up time to give a big thank you to the finance minister that have been working closely with me in helping, especially with the PhD, because as you all know, because I've been on here a lot of time, the initial funding for PhD was given by the DOE government, and so we had to match it, although it was a grant of $5 million, we still had to match that $5 million by 20%. And it's something that the finance minister, with no hesitation, was able to provide. And besides that, when we started the initial design of the PhD project, the revertment wall extends 750 meters. To give you a visual sense, we start from. Okay. The revertment wall is the sea wall, or the erosion defense wall that we are erecting, and so the 750 meter, to put it in a easier perspective for you to visualize it, it starts from the Sony, and it runs all the way until you bend to go to PHP. So the entire length of the shore is being protected. And I always make fun of the defense minister and the chief of staff, which happens to be a personal friend. I said now they can now sleep and know that defense ministry and the barrier will be over there for eternity, because now it's protected from the sea. And also going specifically to the PHP project. The PHP project is a little over 10 acres of land. The 10 acres of land, little over 10 acres of land. I say 10.23 acres of land. And because we have a slanted form, because you drive along it, we needed some space to erect buildings. So what we did, we called on the different ministry along with the chief of staff. We had a meeting with them, appealing to them to give us some land within the barrier, which they were very much generous, and they helped us with 20 meters. So from the road going towards the barrier, we were able to encroach on 20 meters within the barrier, especially coming from the Sodini area. And so that helped us to actually build the children toilet. We have, and I will name all the stuff we have at the PHP. We have 2 adult toilets. We have 1 children bathroom. Then we have the utility building. Then we have the administrative building. Then we have the food court. Along within the food court, we have 13 souvenir shops. We have space for car wash. We also, and what we did was, as you walk, depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from Solene heading towards town, on your right hand side is all the buildings. And so everything that I'm listing now is found on the right hand of the project. So you have the children bathroom, you have the administrative building, you have the food court, you have everything happening on your right hand. Then coming towards town, on the left hand side, we have all the sporting facilities. And so as soon as you pass from the Sony, on the first thing you're going to come across will be the parking lot. The parking lot can accommodate at least 30 to 40 cars. And then after that, you will have the first practice basketball court. After the first practice basketball court, you will have a volleyball court, which is a practice beach volleyball. After the practice beach volleyball, you will have a larger children playground, almost 4 times the size of the different playgrounds we have at Invisible Park. When you pass from the children playground, we have an outdoor gymnasium. The outdoor gymnasium that will cover almost every body part, and these equipments will be simple machines, meaning that it will not be used by electricity. So most of the work you will be doing will be actually generated by your own body movement, which in physical training we call functional fitness kind of workout. And so that will stretch you out almost to where you come to the grandstand. The grandstand is also on the right hand side. The grandstand is an idea of, we say, inspiration that we copied when the president and I, we traveled I was lucky to have been on that trip again because he was the president traveled to Equatorial Guinea during one of their Independence Day. And what they have in Equatorial Guinea is you have the grandstand and there's a road, and then the backdrop of the road is the ocean, just like what we have. And so now if we have programs like August 24th or Flag Day or you name it, you will have people drilling from or marching from the executive mansion coming down Sony and then marching through, going all the way from PHP. And you may ask if we're going to close out the road. We said we have decided that the road will remain open because as we drive, we want you to walk through the beauty of what we, or drive through the beauty of what the president had envisioned for the country. And so that's that. So as you, we passed the gymnasium. After the gymnasium, we have two game fields. One is basketball and one is football. And those two have bleachers, meaning they have places that you can sit and watch the game. And the basketball is directly opposite the grandstand. And as you pass those ones, you have an opportunity to go to the second children playground. And from the second children playground, this time, because my boss is the feminist in chief, for the first time we have a field just dedicated to kickball.
Wow.
Yes. For the first time there will be a field dedicated to kickball. It's not a football field where you play kickball. No, it will be faced like kickball field, almost like a baseball field, where the bases, everything will already be set up. You come, it will be kickball field. So that will be right after you pass the second children playground, and from there you go to another volleyball court. The second volleyball court, we call it game volleyball court. And the game volleyball court, we have sitting area, which we will call bleachers for game and stuff. And after that, my favorite part at that particular site is where you're going to enter, and which is the Unity Square. The Unity Square is an idea that the president brought up, and because when we decided to do that project, as you all know, there is a dark history when it comes to the Redemption Beach. The Redemption Beach in 1980 was where the 13 cabinet minister was put on fire and squad. And since then, there have been mixed emotion, mixed feeling, depending on who you ask. And one of the things that the president have decided to do is we try to change a sad scenario into a happy one, where instead of remembering that particular ground to be a place that blood was shed, it's a place that we all will come together as one to interact as Liberian, because no Liberian is better than other Liberian. And so because of that, we have decided to erect what we call the Unity Square. And the Unity Square, I will give you the diagram for you to walk and see, for you to visualize without looking what we intend to do, or what we have decided to provide for our people, that we as Liberians, unlike other African countries, Liberia is the only African country that white people brought black people back to their home to set up, but they met another group of people where they came to settle. And from that time, our history, everybody here that have read Liberian history know what we have gone through during our historical path, or through our historical path. And so today it's sad because you still see people talking the native and Congo stuff. There is no native, there is no Congo. We are all Liberian. Because it's sad, the very person that would claim to be native when he does not have money, as soon as he starts to amass wealth, he are Congo. So it's a mentality, you know what I mean? So what we decided to do, I think now is just something like what we call a cliche, or we just call it, it's a nomenclature we give to people when you try to work harder. But it's true that some of our forefathers, or some of our people, some of the progressive, actually saw the marginalization of their people. And so their story they can tell will be kind of different from the story we are telling now. But we cannot stay in the past. We have to forge in the future. So the president wants us to unite because he's a peaceful person. And so at the Unity Square, we have 4 pillars. And that 4 pillars, we have steps that leads to the 4 pillars. So it enables you to have a sitting capacity where you can sit and actually look. It's like you looking at it, and you can also walk up to it. And that 4 pillar represents the 4 different governance periods in Liberia. And it starts from 1822 when the ACS, the American Liberians, came to Liberia. The first group of people that was able to govern this country were Caucasian. When we talk about Julia Ashmore and these people, they were 100% white people. If you read Liberian history, if you talk about even Stoughton Creek that we talk about all the time, Stoughton was white. And so our pillar there will represent the very people that actually brought the people in Liberia. But when they brought them, they also controlled them here for some time before we got our independence. And our independence came in 1847. During our independence, the first group of people that ruled this country was what we call in-house slave, light skin, which was the Republican Party. And so there is another pillar that will represent that group of people, which that governance period, the Republican governance time. And then the third pillar represents what we call the Ijero, or what we call the True Party, where the country was ruled by a single party for a very long time. And then there is another pillar that represents the native rule. And so all those 4 pillars will be connected by one pole. And that pole represents and symbolizes Liberia. Because I don't care where you come from or where all those people came from. They came to form one country and to build one nation, and that nation was Liberia. And so that's what the Unity Square will symbolize when we are done. And so that's that for PHP. And we talk about Clarita, as I said, pretty soon will be open, and then D12, the groundbreaking ceremony will be done. And before I start taking questions, I want to again bring to our attention something that will be happening this weekend. And so, as I said, I've always been blessed because I'm happy to have the opportunity to sit close to a president. It's something that few people in a lifetime will have that opportunity. And for me, having the opportunity to not just sit with a president, but having the same opportunity to sit with a legend of African and world football is double blessing that I have, and I will not take that lightly. And so since the opportunity was given to me to work on the invisible part. After all the president has done for us and have given to us, I decided that we should also give back to the president. And so how do I give back to the president? It was something that I had to come up with. And so I met with my team and we decided to build a museum at the Invisible Park. And the museum at the Invisible Park, when we decided to put it together, I was thinking, I said, with all he has accomplished, if I truly decide to do the same, I have to follow his footsteps. And so, to follow his footsteps, I thought about creating a shoes. Because they say, if your foot can fit in a person's shoes. And because the shoe is so big, I decided to design a shoe bigger than a normal shoe. And I came out with giant shoes. And that giant shoes in the museum that we have, that we decided to call the shoes we aspire to fill. It's a story, not just about Joshua. It's a story not even about Joshua. It's a story of a child born in poverty that may not have the opportunity, that may think that because he was born to the wrong family, he cannot make it in life. We are saying, look at the shoes. If Joshua had done it, you can also do it. Because he did not come from a privileged family, he came from an impoverished home. If you think you were born in slavery, you were born in single, Joshua was born in slave Gibraltar. So your single house in Treasury is even better than where you, and today he's the president. Then you might ask and say, oh, yeah, because he had a talent, he could play football, and maybe I don't have the talent. Joshua also told us that, yeah, you don't have to play football, but you can also go back to school and be president. Because he went back to school after gaining the fame and fortune of what any of us will. If I were to ask you today and say, why do we go to school? You say we go to school to take care of our family. But if you have enough to take care of your family, why go to school? He won the world best title, he made millions. He had homes upon homes, which is what a lot of people will attribute towards why we go to school. Although you go to school to be able to self-sustain yourself and to make rational decisions. He went back to school when he could have done all that without going to school. And so that shoes also symbolize that you can also walk in that shoe. You cannot break yourself down. And so we will be putting on display this Saturday those memorabilia and artifacts of his journey through life. And it will not just cover him. We also decided to incorporate some of the legends of Liberian football that we didn't have the opportunity to see. And so I have been researching, I've been calling people that have lived before me and people that lived before them. So we will also have on display Santo Maria, like we are first professional player, and we will have the myth. We have people in Liberian football that people may think that never existed, but before there was Joshua, there was other great players. And so we want our generation today to also know that there are people that have come through these wars. They have come. And so that's what we will be putting on display this coming Saturday. So I will let this be interactive and give you the chance because I'm not too familiar with this, so I'll let us interact.
Thank you so kindly, Mr. P. You know, in a society, it's sometimes good to work with people. And like Minister P rightly stated, this is somebody that I work with, and I can't remember, just correct me, whether one day I went to your office, I really saw you sitting behind the desk. He is a running man. And one day I asked him, technician, please. One day I asked him, I said, one day your role, every day you run. Every day you say, the chief, I have to do the chief work. And since then, even at the ministry, I doubted whether he really sits in his office. He's always on his feet. Always on his feet. And I'm not surprised about the kind of work that is being done at PHP. I wish that you would just take your camera under his, battery or approval, that you will take your camera at PHP to see what is being done at PHP. And then you bite your tongue. And so the president is doing quite well. But of politics, when it comes to improving the sports in this country. And Minister Kui, we'd like to thank you from the Ministry of Information. Already my boss has already said it. Thank you so kindly. The man who is responsible for our brain, our thinking, our education. Personally, is the man responsible for our thinking.